So it's been over 2 months since we have released an episode of the podcast. And for that, in this episode, I mentioned it too at some point, but I'm sorry. And I don't know who I'm apologizing to. I'm mostly sorry to myself because it sucks. I don't like the fact that it's been 2 months. The goal always with the podcast is to release a new episode every week. And sometimes we do really good. And then sometimes we have 2 months where we don't release any episodes. But that's life. And life is crazy. And life is busy. And life is a practice. So you've got a new episode of the podcast this week. Next week, you'll have a new episode of the podcast. The week after that, hopefully you'll have a new episode of the podcast. And then the week after that, we'll see. But we're working on it continually on a daily basis to release wonderful, beautiful episodes of the podcast for you guys to enjoy. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Refinery Barbershop. Usually I slow things way down because I screw up when I speak. The Refinery Barbershop, located in Springville, Utah. Go to refinerybarbershop.com. Also on Facebook at The Refinery Barbershop. Also on Instagram at The Refinery Barbershop. You can not only get your hair cut, you can get your beard trimmed. And it's like the real legit straight razor shave. It's incredible. The whole 9 yards. Anyways, go to their website, refinerybarbershop.com. Pop in and say hello. Let them know that you heard about them on the podcast for the universe. And go show them some love on their Facebook page. So this episode is another wonderful episode with my amazing, beautiful wife, Stephanie. It's Coconut Coffee with Steph and Craig. I love doing these episodes. We have a wonderful relationship when it comes to communication, but yet we still practice it, and it's a struggle at times. That's just life. But this is a fun episode. We talk about quite a few different things. We've had some really cool things that have taken place in our life over the past 2 months, and we talk about some of them we don't talk about because it's none of your damn business. But at the end of the day, it's a fun episode, and you guys get to enjoy it. The first part of the episode, we talk about mental health, and you'll hear it because you're about to push play and you'll listen. But it's really, it's a fascinating topic. It's one that I'm going to be discussing more and more on the podcast. So stay tuned because it's going to get pretty interesting, I hope. But we'd love to hear from you. We'd love some feedback. Feel free to reach out at energyislovepodcast.com and then click on the contact link. Shoot us an email, message us through the Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. Subscribe, download, share, rate, review, all those kind of things help the podcast grow. Also, starting now, right now when you're listening to this, starting right now, I'm starting to coach men and work with men one-on-one. It's something that I'm really passionate about. It's something I'm really excited about. And the whole purpose and goal of it is just to simply help guys, man. Just help men in the process of slowing down, opening up, and connecting to emotion, connecting to their feelings, connecting to themselves. It's just really amazing what can happen in that space when you do that work. And so I'm very passionate about it, and I'm excited to start working with men more and more and more. You can find out more information about that on our website as well. And if you got any questions about it, please reach out. Shoot me an email. It's craig@energyislovepodcast.com. I'd love to chat with you. But for now, sit back and relax, turn it up, and enjoy another wonderful episode with my amazing wife, Stephanie. Here we go.
You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is the Love podcast.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is Love podcast.
The podcast for the universe.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Don't you love how you can hear her?
That's snoring dog.
Yeah, if you can hear it in the background, it's just Angel snoring. She's an old lady. Leave her alone. She's got her sleep apnea happening. Do you think she has sleep apnea?
I don't know. Maybe.
No, I got you all nervous about the dog having sleep apnea.
I'm nervous now. I'm looking at her.
I don't think she has sleep apnea.
As long as we can hear her snoring, then that's good. She's breathing.
Exactly.
So what about when she stops snoring?
She's all curled up. She's got such a hard life.
I know.
I always laugh about, like, when I think about Angel and how difficult her life is of
it's rough.
Sleeping on a cushioned ottoman in front of a fireplace wrapped in a blanket like 17 hours out of the day. Actually, more than that. She probably only spends 4 hours off of that ottoman all day long. Total.
Except for at night.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Then she goes up, sleeps on a big cushion bed.
Yeah.
It's one of the kids.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's such a hard knock life. So, dear.
Yes.
It's been a while.
When was the last one?
I don't remember the last one we did. It wasn't terribly, well, it was terribly long ago because we haven't recorded in so long.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we did episode 100.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we've only had 2 since then.
Did we do one after that, though? Or no?
I don't think so. I don't remember. But anyways, that's okay.
Yay.
We're back.
Welcome.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Our chairs are way squeaky.
I can hear them. I'm
That's
trying
okay.
to move slowly to take a drink of coffee without creaking everything.
It's okay. You don't have to tactically move in order to avoid the squeak of the chair.
Between the dog snoring and the chair squeaking and me sipping coffee, it's a little bit of background.
That's okay. There's something that I thought about a long time ago that I wanted to start doing on the podcast. On every single episode of the podcast, I want to talk about this.
Oh.
And I thought about it a long time ago. And then since we haven't recorded an episode of the podcast for over 2 months, which I apologize for, that's just life, right? It's been a busy 2 months. Who should I I don't know if I necessarily need to apologize
You don't
to anybody.
need to apologize.
Well, I apologize to myself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it bums me out that we haven't had a new episode for a long time. But I thought about this a long time ago, and this is something that I want to talk about on every single episode of the podcast.
Maybe you'll need to apologize for that because you haven't given me a heads up.
Yeah. Well, what I want to talk about is mental health.
Oh.
And I'm tired of the stigma attached to mental health. And we've had numerous conversations over the course of, I'm going to get way more conversation. We've had numerous conversations over the course of our relationship and our time together this go round about mental health and how asinine it is and my fix for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I've talked about it on the podcast at some point, but I have a solution to solve pretty much every problem that we face in the entire world. All the problems, like all of them.
Let's hear it.
If you put all the problems together, this is the solution that will fix all of them.
All ears.
Well, you know what it is.
I know, but you have to say it because everybody else doesn't.
Yeah, we just have to do away with like the whole stigma of mental health. Like the fact is, like a mental health illness or suffering from a mental health disorder or just any of that just needs to be gone. Like what we need to realize is that if we label all of those things as a stigma or a disorder or a illness, it's just a huge spectrum of how people exist. And everybody falls on that spectrum. So every single person has some form of mental illness. And if we do away with the stigma and just accept the fact that we all suffer from, and suffering from it is even the wrong verbiage or the wrong word, but that we all just have it. That's a big thing that we could do. And then the second thing is like we make it more accessible and more affordable and more reasonable. And I always equate it to going to the dentist, where from the time that you get teeth, you go to the dentist. What did you see over there? Is it the cat?
It was the cat.
The fucking cat sneaking down to watch.
It was actually running up. He came down, looked, didn't like what he saw, and ran upstairs.
He's got his switchblade out, ready to cut us when we're not looking. But I always equate it to the dentist, right? You go to the dentist from a very early age, and you go twice a year, get your teeth cleaned. The dentist checks up on you, asks you how everything's doing, tells you to brush and floss every day, even though nobody does. And then if you need more work, you come back for a follow-up appointment. So it's the same thing. You go see a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist or whatever the huge broad spectrum of people to help us with our mental illness that we all have. You go see them twice a year and you have an hour-long appointment and you sit down and you talk to them and you check in and you see how everything's going. And if you're at a phase in your life or a stage in your life when things are really shitty and you're going through some difficult times, then you book some follow-up appointments. And it's all incorporated the way that dentistry is, where like it doesn't cost anything if you have medical insurance to go get a checkup and get your teeth cleaned. So it doesn't cost anything to go see a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist. You just get to go twice a year for free and talk for an hour. And then if you need follow-up, you get follow-up. And it's like the same thing, right? Like a follow-up appointment would be like $20 or something. but we completely remove the stigma attached to it. Everybody does it. Everybody goes. It's just a normal thing that is accepted. And I think that over the course of 360 years of doing things that way, then it might change.
360 years, yeah.
Yeah. Then we might shift.
What about people that, two questions really. The first one's, what about people that don't have health insurance? How do they get that accessibility?
Well, I just use that as as an example of.
You said you had all the answers to fix it also.
I do have all the answers. I just use it as an example that is easily understood in the sense of, everybody understands what it means to go to the dentist twice a year and get your teeth cleaned. But obviously there's a lot of people that don't go to the dentist twice a year to get their teeth cleaned.
Some people are afraid of the dentist.
Yes. And those people clearly have a mental illness that they need help with.
Okay, so how do you get rid of the stigma attached to it?
Well, there's no longer a stigma if it's just normal, if it's just accepted, if it's just the realization that everybody has something on that spectrum. Because it's not even having something, it's just life. It's just being a person. At some point in your life, you're going to experience something that is going to cause you stress. It's going to cause you anxiety. It's going to cause you to feel depressed. It's going to cause you to feel all of these negative things that we label, typically in the space of mental health. It's going to cause you to feel something like that. And then it's either going to be acute and it's going to be momentary, or it's going to be chronic. And anywhere along that spectrum, then you could be mildly depressed from time to time, a little OCD or a little anxious, and then you could be batshit crazy where you're, completely psychotic and hear things and see things. And
that's not good.
No.
Batshit crazy is psychotic and hear and see things.
Yeah, there's people
We've got to talk.
I know.
There's something going on.
But that's my fix for it. But what I want to do, because obviously I can't implement that change today, I've called Trump. I tweeted him and I'm waiting for him to tweet back.
Fake news.
Yes. But in the meantime, on the podcast, what I'm going to do is just ask everybody that comes on the podcast, what form of mental illness do you suffer from?
Shit, that's your question?
Yeah.
You're going to ask everybody?
Everybody.
That you didn't give me a heads up for?
No,
You're
everybody.
just going to straight up and ask me what?
So me.
Let's ask the dog.
Angel is the most, she has no mental illness whatsoever. Her life is perfect. I have anxiety. I suffer from anxiety. Depression, definitely. This is the thing. We all have these labels that we could describe and diagnose and, classify things as. And some of that I agree with. But at the same time, I think it's all a beautiful sliding spectrum. So you might be super bipolar one day and the next day you might not be, or you might go through a phase in your life where you have manic depressive spouts of this, that, or the other, and then you don't. That doesn't mean that you're, permanently mentally ill. It's just a fluid thing. And I've gone through periods in my life where SAD, have you ever heard of the seasonal affective disorder, the one that takes place during the winter months and things like that when you don't get the sun? I think I've probably experienced some of that. Cyclothymia is a big fancy word that basically is a lesser degree of bipolar disorder. So you're cyclothymic, meaning you have, because in bipolar you can have very easily trackable ups and downs and swings back and forth, right? The bi part where you go up and then you come back down. Bipolar, meaning one on opposite ends of the polarity spectrum. But I've gone through periods of my life where I've had, experienced that. What else? OCD. I definitely have some OCD that is challenging at times to combat and deal with. But I fall on the spectrum in a lot of areas, and that's okay because it's normal. But I'm not crazy, and even if I was crazy, that's okay too. So that is some of the mental illness that I have experienced throughout my life.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Next question. Should we just move past it? So what do you think, babe? What have you experienced? I didn't tell you this ahead of time because I didn't want you to sit and think about it. and dwell on it.
Come up with something to do today that's different than sitting and doing your podcast. What do you think I suffer from?
Appreciate everybody listening, and tune in next week for the solo episode of the podcast when Stephanie takes over because she's killed me.
You are a smart man. I was just waiting for your answers. Your listeners around are going like, no, don't do it. Don't answer that. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Wow.
We have to normalize it.
I know, but it's okay, you understand that it's something that's not normalized.
That's why we're stepping out.
So the fact that things are stuck in my throat right now is, I guess, an intimidating question.
Yes, but we're going to normalize it because it's fucking retarded that it's not. And there doesn't need to be a stigma surrounding any of it.
I agree. But you also said that the stigma, it just goes away. There isn't, and that was true. So,
yeah, it'll go away if people talk about it.
People talk about it.
And we normalize it. So every guest that comes on, if you're listening to this and you're a future guest of the podcast, be prepared for this question because it's happening.
It's fun too. But at least you'll have some prep work so you're ready to answer instead of... It's hard to go over like what you... Because so much of your self-talk when you ask a question like that comes in. So... Like, I hate labels. I hate them. So I'm very sensitive to putting any labels on except for, of course, self-talk. When you have all these things, as you can tell by my rambling at the moment, like, how do I answer this without answering this? Well, like you said, everybody falls on the spectrum at some times. So I guess... I don't want to answer. That's rough. Depression, obviously.
That's like the safe one that everybody is accepting.
I'm not done.
In a sense.
I'm starting with the baby step. Yes, everybody experiences depression and anxiety. And honestly, saying like anxiety that was a word that was hard for me to say for a long time. I'm like, I don't have anxiety. I'm just surrounded by assholes, okay? It was hard because it feels like the way that people put it out there and perceive it and you're treated, it feels like such a dirty word. Like you are saying on top of all these self-talk and all the crap that you say about yourself. And when you are feeling down, then on top of that, you have an actual label that says more that you're not enough. You're not worthy because look at this. You're never going to be happy. You have depression. You have anxiety. You have blah, blah, blah. So like, just trying to, I don't know, say the words was super hard. And then it's hard because you feel like once you give yourself a label, you accept that is that. So if I say I have depression, if I say I have anxiety, if I say I have, there's some letters out there that I can't even blurt out at the moment. Ongoing rebuilding, like PTSD, then that's my future. Then I have said, here you go, Stephanie, here's your box with all the labels on it. This is who you are, and you can never be anything else. So it's hard to say those things. It really feels less empowering and more confining. Let's see, what verbiage could I use? I experience occasionally. There we go. I have experienced depression. I've experienced anxiety. I don't know how to not experience. I hate that. I hate those letters. I hate them. They get stuck so bad. I hate the thought of, because it's not just when you say something about having PTSD for any reason, for how many reasons that it just accumulates. It makes me so angry. And I realize this isn't where you're going, but this is where it's going. So it makes me so angry because I feel like I work really hard to overcome and not be held back by situations that have happened, situations that I've experienced. And I feel like if I say these things and that this is something that I experience, then honestly, it makes me feel like a victim. It makes me feel like the other person or situation has the power, and now I'm the remains of that event. And I don't like that at all. So I don't know, how do you accept or feel that without feeling that?
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, that's it.
Well, first off, thank you. Because that's, like you said, I know that some of these things are triggering for you. I know that some of these things are difficult for you to talk about because you don't even like talking about them with me. You avoid, those discussions with your lovely, beautiful husband. So I understand that it's difficult. But I think, just think about the one fucking person out there that's listening. Just the one. The one person that is listening to this podcast somewhere in the world right now and hearing you talk about just those three simple things: depression, anxiety, and PTSD, and that you experience them all from time to time, and that you have gone through stages in your life when you have experienced them more than others, and there's something that you will experience again. And that's totally normal, and that's totally fine, and that's totally the reality of being a human in this fucking thing called, like, the human experience, right? I forgot, too, that I have PTSD. And that's okay. Am I debilitated from it? Do I suffer on a daily basis? No, I don't. Do I have times when it gets triggered and things that I go through and experience where I'll get some feelings that come up and some emotions and some pain and anger and all sorts of different things? Absolutely. Definitely. That's normal. Everybody has that. I would argue that everybody has PTSD in some form or fashion. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's just a spectrum. Like, it's just all shades of the exact same fucking color, And so it's so silly, dear. I just think it's so silly that we have to have any negative association with it, that we have to avoid it in some way, shape, or form, that it has to be something that people don't talk about. And not, like, it doesn't even have to be something that people talk about. It's not, that's the other thing that drives me nuts, is where we have to talk about this stuff, and we have to, it's just fucking life. Like, it's just normal. Like, what did you drink today? Oh, I had a glass of water and a cup of coffee. What did you feel today? Well, I felt anxious and I felt depressed and I felt some of the trauma from my past sneak up and kick me in the butt, and I laid in bed all day long, but I'm better today. Totally normal. That's just what happens. It's not something that we have to talk about. It's just something that we have to accept exists in every single person. And by you just simply talking about it, dear, and verbalizing it, we can start to normalize it in some little small way, shape, or form, right? We have the capacity with the podcast to reach people on the other side of the planet who we would never, ever, ever, ever get to meet in person. And we get to implant an idea in that person's head. We get to inception them and plant something into their brain that they get to sit with and think about and stew about. And then hopefully they talk to somebody else about it. Or we change their perspective, or give them a different thought process for the next day and a half. And I think it's important, because
it is important. I agree.
All the problems that we have, remember at the beginning, all the problems, all of them, all of them could be fixed, could change, if we just got rid of this whole idea that mental health is a bad thing. The reason I think about it, and the reason I've thought about it a lot as of late, is because of all the fucking shootings that take place, and all the high school shootings, and all the people that go out and murder people, and the way that they're villainized, and the way that they are attacked after the fact in regards to being psychotic and being crazy, and clearly they're off their rocker, and how could somebody do that, right? Okay, I agree. That person's suffering from some massive amounts of mental illness issues, and probably has been for a very long time, in order to disassociate enough to where they're going to do that. That does not make that person evil. That does not make that person a bad person. That does not make that person broken, in the sense that they can't be fixed or rehealed, or, that makes that person simply like on the far end of the spectrum that we all fall on. And if we didn't judge people that way, if we don't look at people that way, if that person had gotten help from the time that they were a child for the shitty childhood that they probably experienced and had, and the upbringing and the suffering and the abuse and the trauma and all the different things. But if twice a year they got to go to the mental health dentist and talk to that dentist, and that dentist could catch some things early on and be like, oh, this person really needs some help, and they're 8 years old. And then we can start implementing some programs and some helps and some steps and some follow-up appointments. So then that person builds healthy fucking skill sets to cope and manage with the emotion that they feel. And then fast forward 10 years, they're not going to go shoot up a high school and kill a bunch of teenagers.
So you did say that you tweeted Trump.
I did.
You did, and we're reaching people.
Hashtag tweet Trump.
I would get so much joy. So much joy. I can't even joy is such a small word, not just because it's only 3 letters, but like the amount of movement, if somebody that could start that change was listening and made that change and was hearing these words, I would love that.
That'd be so nice, right?
It would be...
Like you lay it out and it seems so simple.
It is simple. It's just people won't do it.
Right? It's just very simple. This is what has to happen, and people have to look at things in a different way. And the fact is, it's a generational thing. So we know that. We know that there's tons of... Racism's a very easy one to see where it's generational. Where, 2 generations ago it was just accepted and normal. And now it's slowly fading and fading and fading and fading. And our kids, right? And like retard. Oh my God, you can't say retard. Don't say retard because you're going to offend retards out there. Like that's a generational thing, right? I grew up calling people retards. People called me retards. My brother's a retard. Okay. But in no way, shape, or form does that mean that they have some sort of mental handicap. And you can't say handicap either. Like all of these things are just generational things, right?
Yeah.
And our kids like, they get so disgusted if I accidentally, and I don't do it accidentally, I do it to fuck with them, but they get so disgusted when we say the word retard, right? And that's fine. I get that. I take no offense. I understand that I'm old and I come from a generation, I'm not old, but I come from a generation when a retard meant that you were just stupid. Well, we can't really call people stupid either. Well, I don't fucking care what we can or can't call people because people are stupid and they're retarded sometimes. But that doesn't mean that they're retards. That just means they do stupid things sometimes. But I got sidetracked with retards.
No, you did. It was...
But that's a good example of a stereotype or a stigma or just an accepted norm in society that is changing because of the generational change and shift that takes place with each new generation. The beautiful evolution of human life. And mental health is a big one that has been around for a long time. And from as far back as we can remember in society, people have suffered from mental health issues. So it's been here for a really, really long time. And we've had the stigma and the issues surrounding it for a very, very long time. So it's going to take a little bit for it to go away, but it's just generations, right? Like we could probably do it in 1 or 2. So in the next 20, that's our fridge.
Oh.
Our fridge is clicking. It's got Tourette's. It's back there waiting to swear. But yeah, like 1 generation and a half, 2 generations from now, it could be accepted the norm that you just go see a counselor twice a year. And that person across the street isn't the crazy old cat lady. She just has some mental health issues that she needs help with. And if we get treatment, and not even treatment because there's nothing fucking wrong with us, but if we just learn how to cope and deal and manage with emotion.
Not a pill.
Not a pill, right? Not a pill. Just communication and expression and expanding our awareness of what emotion is and how to feel it and how to process it and how to understand it and how to express it. And times when it's positive and times when it's negative. And just accepting that all of those things are totally normal. Then we could change it, change the world. Like I said, all the problems. So thank you. I know that was difficult for you. I know it's challenging in a sense to verbalize some of those things. PTSD, just say it, baby. PTSD.
I did already.
Papa Tango Sierra motherfucking Delta. PTSD. That's okay.
I said it.
Good job.
I did.
Anything else you want to add before we stop talking about that? I'm going to do it. Like, that's one thing that is massively important that I realized there's no reason why I can't ask every single person about that. And we can have a brief conversation. It's not going to take every fucking episode of the podcast over, but it's a small little way to bring awareness and start implanting some different thoughts and ideas and different ways of looking at things to people who listen to the podcast.
I really love it. I really love it. I think the more people... Now, this is just an example. Mm-hmm. Okay, so hopefully it doesn't upset, but it's... maybe it's those little things you have that where people take their power back with one small step, like the Me Too movement.
Yes.
That went around. And I realize this is a completely different thing, but you have so many people that wouldn't say that, wouldn't share that. And they start to see all the people that are like, yeah, it's out there. My friend, my mom, my teacher, everybody around me is saying that. So now I feel safe enough that it doesn't make me bad. It doesn't make me dirty. It doesn't make me, so I'm going to put it out there. And there's still the people that didn't participate with that, mm-hmm. that could have, but never once wrote on there. So you're going to have, like what you said with taking the stigma away, just the more people you hear say, yes, this is something in my life. No, I'm not a bad person. No, I'm not. I don't know. I use crazy too much.
Well, it's just normal.
It is. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't know how to I'm not crazy. I'm totally crazy, but I'm not crazy.
I'm not
it's
crazy.
Not a bad
crazy.
Word. I'm not batshit crazy.
I'm not crazy AF.
I am tiger piss crazy.
Tiger piss?
I don't know. I was trying to come up with something. Tiger's blood is, but then I started thinking of the Slurpee stuff.
Of the shaved ice flavor.
That's good. But I think that's a good idea because it just starts to normalize it and not as a acceptance defeat, mm-hmm. but that there's nothing wrong with me. This label is not a label. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just everybody. Mm-hmm. It's everybody. So, I can say it too now. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start.
Do it.
Thank you. I was going to go off on a tangent, because we don't know anybody that doesn't have some form of mental illness. Nobody.
Let me think.
And maybe in the process of doing this and talking about it on every episode of the podcast, we'll come up with some new verbiage and some new language, because I don't like mental illness. It makes it seem like we're broken and there's something wrong with us and there's some fucking miswiring that took place. But we don't know anybody that doesn't have some form or fashion of that shade or color of struggling with their emotions and their mental balance. Mental balance. Because that's what balance. It is, right?
I like that. Yeah.
Everybody we know at times has experienced shifts and changes in their mental balance. Balance is such a hard word for me to say. Balance. Balance.
Spectrum and balance. I like it.
Yeah. Everybody. Mm-hmm. Every single person I can think of that I've ever met or come into contact with has it. So.
How many people?
I've done a scientific study over the past 37 years of my life.
Raw data is in.
Yeah, 8 billion people on the planet or something like that. Everybody has it. So we just got to talk about it. But we can be done talking about it for now.
I'm good. I already got past the hard part. I'm okay.
No, you're good. We've had a lot take place in our life in a short amount of time, dear. In the last 2 months, what are you thinking of?
What am I thinking of?
Yeah, where'd you go? You looked off in the distance like you were thinking about...
Like how to
catch everybody up?
If I want to.
Yeah, I don't think we have to.
Okay.
Because I think that's silly. But there's some cool things that we've gone and experienced and done.
Yes.
First off... big sigh into the microphone, which always sounds great. I don't know what I want to talk about either. We want to talk about skydiving. Like when we did that and we got home, I'm like, oh, we need to talk about it on a podcast because it was badass.
It was awesome.
It was way fun. So recently, not too long ago, beginning of April, a few weeks ago, we jumped out of a plane together.
Well,
not at the same
not
time.
at the same time.
You jumped out and then I jumped out after you.
Yeah.
And granted, we had people strapped to us.
It was our first time. Come on.
There were some people that wanted to come with us, wanted to ride piggyback. And so we agreed and said, okay, if you want to come with us, then we'll let you ride piggyback.
We're considerate like that.
Yeah. But what did you think? Give everybody your take on what you thought about when it came to falling out of an airplane from, what did we decide, like 13,563 feet up or something?
It was a minimum of 13,000. They had to reach that 13,000 mark. So I think it went over that, but yeah.
That's so we could get outside of the chemtrails.
I guess my personal on it was pretty awesome. It was amazing coming up to the door and looking down because, you don't realize how high you are. 11,000 feet, you start to kind of like, oh, this is a little bit up, and 13,000 is, I don't know, jumping from the moon, I guess.
We saw the moon. We looked over and the moon was
right there. It was waving at us. We saw the man on the moon. He winked. He's like, you got this. It was a little intimidating coming up to the door, but it was awesome. So that we had a free fall that was something like 50 seconds. What did we decide? It was like 2 miles or something. I can't remember how far down we fell. Just a free fall. That was intense. That was really intense. It was neat. It was cold. It was, I think I described it as the most terrifying and most amazing experience I've ever had at the same time. And there's so many things that are scary that you don't realize till after. You're like, oh, that was cool. But this was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I love everything about this. Oh, I'm terrified. This is the greatest. And then, 50 seconds of that. And then when you pull the chute and everything stops and you just have that, you're so high up in the sky and you're flying and you can control the way you go with the chute and you just feel like you're flying in. I think that was the most euphoric moment. Like the free fall was intense and it was amazing and it was exciting, but I just kind of want to hang out in the sky. I want to do that again and just pull the cord and just fly around for a while and be above everything. You're just like all the weight comes off. You don't have to, you're not up there thinking about stressful things or, oh, I had to say PTSD on a podcast. That sucked. You're not thinking about a bad day. You're not thinking about things you have to do. It is I think that was one of the most present moments I've ever had. That was it. It encompassed every ounce of my body, my mind, my spirit, everything. I was right there. I was in the moment and I was so high up and the view was amazing. It was beautiful. You could see so far and you could move where you wanted to move. There was I don't know. I cannot find the words to describe. I can't find the words to describe what that felt like, but it was
pretty badass.
So amazing. So beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's my take.
We're going to go back. If you want to donate to the fund for getting Stephanie and Craig certified to skydive, send money to us now. Yeah, it was incredible. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, obviously.
Yeah.
I remember watching you go first because you jumped out of the plane first and that was kind of gut dropping in a sense to watch you go and then realize, fuck, we're jumping out of airplanes and my wife just did. And you immediately disappeared, obviously. You just went right out the door and then were gone. And then by the time, it came time for me to get up to the door to jump out. And when I say by the time, that was probably 45 seconds after you had gotten out.
Do you think it was that long?
Maybe a little less, maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to piggyback over with the guy on your back in the small plane and, work your way over there. But by that point, as I was approaching the door, I mean, there was a part of me that I love you so much.
Oh boy.
I forgot about you. I don't know where you were. I saw you jump out of the plane and had the moment of like, oh my God, my wife just jumped out of an airplane. And then it was like, oh, it's my turn now. I can't think about anything else other than I'm about to jump out of this fucking plane.
So you were present.
Yes, I was
you
very
were absolutely present.
Yeah, like
Nothing
part
else
of me,
is in your
you know, I
brain.
wanted to get up to the door and look around and look down and see if I could find you. And none of that took place. All of it was just like, fuck. What's this going to feel like? And then you get out of the plane and you're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. So it was awesome. I loved it. It was super cool. The shoot was cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the freedom and the feeling of being like underneath a canopy, underneath a parachute was super cool. And, you know, the relaxation of it. And yeah, I can definitely see why it becomes something that you can get addicted to.
Yes.
So I'm excited. We'll definitely be going back at some point. Just send the money to Craig and Stephanie Salazar.
Should we do a Kickstarter?
No.
Get us skydiving. We will tell you all about it.
Do a Kickstarter fund to get us certified. We probably could do that. And then our parents would donate to it and fund it for us.
I don't know.
That's true. I guess none of our parents want us to go skydiving.
Yeah.
Well, my mom does, but.
Yeah. Well, my parents were, you know, pretty awesome about it, but at the same, okay, so to throw it out there, you tell your family when you're planning on doing something fun and amazing like that. And I made the choice, and I'm sure she'll listen to this, so I love you, Mom, but to not tell my mom, because it would send her into a way too stressful of a situation to think. Because it's one thing when you're jumping out of a plane or somebody you care about, but thinking about your child jumping out of a plane is a little different for some people. So I just sent her a text after we were done. I'm like, survived my first jump out of an airplane. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye. That was it.
Yeah, it was cool. We didn't tell anybody. Well, yeah, we didn't. We didn't tell the kids. We didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
We just went and did it, which was very smart of us because obviously we could have died.
We had emergency contacts listed.
Yeah. And
So
that does nothing if you're dead.
well, if you're going to die, it does nothing regardless. So emergency contacts are so somebody can come take care of your kids. So
Yeah.
our kids were squared away. We covered that basis. I'm not going to be able to talk to my mom after this comes out. She's going to be upset with me.
Other things that we've done, other things that have taken place, we can touch on that. See, like that's the thing is we don't have to, when I thought about it, it's like, oh, well, let's just outline the last two. Like it's been fucking busy. Like
Yeah.
we've been busy. That's the reason why we haven't had new episodes of the podcast. That's the reason why I haven't taken the time to sit down and record. That's the reason why I haven't like seeked out people that I want to fucking talk to. Because I've just been too damn busy, which sucks. That's life. But things are in the process on the tail end of massive change and shift in our lives specifically, and probably in the grander scheme of things as well. But things are slowing down to a certain extent.
They're slowing down and speeding up at the same time.
Yeah.
Some areas are slowing down, and the areas that we want to speed up are speeding up.
I think they call that a black hole. I'm teasing. It's not what they call it. I don't know what they call it. But yes. Yeah.
But it's good.
The
It's
areas
good
that we're
speed.
passionate about,
Good
the areas, it's good speed. We got a good batch. But the areas that we're passionate about, the areas that we are focused on, the areas that we want to expend and devote energy to are the areas that are picking up, and the areas that we don't want to devote energy to.
And ascribe. Devote and ascribe.
Yeah.
You heard it first here.
Those areas are slowing down, which is very, very cool, I think. I think it's a massive shift in our perspectives and the way that we choose to spend our energy and choose to focus on things. And I think it's it's pretty powerful. I don't know sometimes if we give ourselves enough credit. Like it's pretty cool. It's pretty powerful. What do you think?
I think it's very cool.
You just
Very
sat there and
exciting.
shook your head.
I did. I was listening to it, shaking my head.
Yeah.
And I tried to.
Yeah. They can't hear you when you shake your head up and down.
Okay. So next time you say something that I agree with the whole time, I'm going to be going, yes, I agree. Yes, absolutely. That. Keep going.
Yes, my head shake up, down. Yes. What else you want to talk about? I think we just caught everybody up.
I know. I just keep thinking about jumping out of a plane now. That's all I can feel. It's pretty.
It was a cool feeling.
I know, but we can't really go over that anymore.
What's next?
What's next?
What's
Lots
next?
of stuff, but we're not going to talk about that.
Why?
Because we just said we're not going to. We're not going to do the timeline. We have lots of stuff that's next.
But we can talk about what's next.
Summer. Kids home.
Yes.
All the
Super
time.
excited for that.
Yes.
Way jazzed. Not really.
Half and half. Jazzed. I'm happy.
You're looking forward to them
Yes,
being home every single day.
Well, not every single day.
That's what's going to happen.
But most of the days.
Well,
I get
they're not
sad
going to
when
be
they go
home
back
most
to
of the
school.
days. They're going to be home every single day.
Well, most of the days I'll be happy about it.
Mm.
I don't like it when they go back to school. I get sad.
I love it when they go back to school.
I get sad. I feel like, well, there they go. Stupid school system robbing more time from me. That's my time. Bastards.
Oh.
And then there's days I really want them to get out of the house. Really, really want them to get out of the house. So like I
Every
said,
day
most
I think
days.
it's important for them
Most days.
to get out of the house.
Yeah. That school's so long. It's so long. There's too many hours in a school day, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something that could probably be improved.
Yeah.
Is the education system.
Yeah. We want to get on that?
No. I don't have fixes for that other than it's fucked up and they need to fix it. Because the way that they do it is really, really asinine. And my fix is fix that. I don't care, fix that. Because it's not even remotely close to functioning normally.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but it's slowly changing.
It's not.
Slowly.
You think?
Yeah.
Where?
Well, think about how different it is. Okay, it's really not that different from when we were in school 30 years ago. But it's slightly. There's a slow shift and change.
There?
Yeah. Like the way that they do like standardized testing is way different today than when we were in school.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that they're still doing standardized testing.
Standardized testing and more testing that does absolutely nothing
really
other than
beneficial
stress
and
out.
helpful.
Yeah, no, I don't like any of that. We'll move on from that.
What's the coolest spiritual thing that you've had happen to yourself lately? If anything.
I don't know if it's the coolest, but it's, I guess, one that's been like really playing in my mind. And when it first happened, I couldn't stop thinking about it and over and over and over again. And it's still like stuck with me, but I can't find anything on it. All of the rabbit holes that you find on the internet, all of the searching and the Googling. I won't get in too much of what it was, but it had to do with, I guess the title, the thing that I can't forget, the phrase is the ivory belt. And I'm not talking like a belt.
Made of ivory.
Made of ivory. Nothing to do with elephant tusks or, It was, in reference to it, it was, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it in the sky or galactic or universal or I don't know how to really go with there, but it was the ivory belt and it had such significance and it was things that could come from the ivory belt and then the journey to the ivory belt. But I don't know what it is and I can't find anything. I can't find anything. So I don't know whether it's a cool spiritual experience or something that happened or whether it's, I don't know, maybe one of those batshit crazy things we talked about where people see and hear things.
It came through a dream though, right?
It was one of those like half dream things. Yeah.
One of those really good dream, not dream, out of body connected experiences. Yeah. So if anybody out there knows what the fuck the ivory belt is, please contact us.
It's driving me bonkers.
Yeah.
I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah.
Be doing things, random things, and ivory belt pops in. It just keeps flashing. Like you walk into a room, somebody's flashing a light switch, or you're not seeing something comes out of the corner of your eye. I just keep getting blasted with the ivory belt. So I don't know.
Oh, I keep dying. I haven't had any insanely crazy things spiritually or energetically happened to me as of late, but there's been a lot of little stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of little synchronicities and connections and things like that. And like 2 nights ago, I had that dream. Like I've slept like shit for like the last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 nights has actually been pretty good. Last night wasn't too bad, but very, very busy at night while I'm sleeping and very active. Lots of like really lucid, vivid dreaming. And there was one point where I was half awake and half asleep and trying to fall asleep, trying to get back to sleep because I was so frustrated, and then slipped into this space where, because there's that space that we go to, right? And you and I know what it is because we've talked about it at great length, and we are both kind of on the same page with not necessarily what the fuck the space is, but the feeling associated with it when you're in that space. And it feels different than a dream. It feels different than when you're awake. It's just this like really cool, bizarro alternate reality place where you can feel your body but can't, and you're aware of things, and it's like all your senses go up to a next level. And so I was trying to fall asleep, and then suddenly it's like I fell asleep and then immediately jumped into that next level place where everything became more feely and CE kind of stuff. And it was like I was just looking up on our ceiling, even though it wasn't our ceiling. I was looking up on the ceiling, or looking upwards, I should say, probably better than looking up at our ceiling, and just saw a bunch of geometric shit. Bunch of 3D, like lucid, vivid geometric forms and shapes that were kind of like, like a kaleidoscope, when you twist a kaleidoscope, and the kaleidoscope will slowly shift and change from shape to shape to shape. Kind of like that, where it was cool visual stuff that was geometric shapes and patterns, and just slowly shifting and changing in association with that feeling in my body that tells me that I'm out there in the cosmos in my energetic form. And I felt cool. And as soon as it popped up and started happening, I'm like, oh, sweet. Don't fight it, 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 don't fight it. And I held on to it longer than I thought I could. And then it faded and I fell asleep, or woke up enough to get pissed off that it faded and then fell asleep or whatever. But it was cool. And that was recent. That was like 3 nights ago, I think. 4 nights ago. But that was cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I love that shit, right? We used to get that stuff more often when we had a better meditation practice in place, when we were meditating more and we were doing more more of this stuff that we should probably start doing more of. But it's a practice, right? So we can get back in the practice of it. And then I've had a lot of synchronistic things of like, shifting up and changing things in life and choosing a different path and a different direction and more of a focused approach and attention on the things that I want to focus on. And then the universe just kind of lining up things, and, people calling me or reaching out or random things like that correlate with what I'm talking about and what I want to be doing. And that's been super cool. That's been way, way neat.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's been super helpful.
So out of those little synchronistic events, which one are you the most excited about?
I'm excited about all of them.
Good. That wasn't my question.
Yeah. Like, I'm excited when anything like that happens. And I think we're getting so good at recognizing when those things happen, right? And appreciating them for what they are, as opposed to just coincidence. And recognizing, like, whether you want to call it the law of attraction, or whether you want to call it synchronicities, or the universal spin of energy, or whatever the fuck we want to call it or label it as, you can definitely get into the flow of life. And when you're in the flow of life, good things happen. Things that you want to happen. You wake up one morning and say, I'd like this to happen, or I want this to happen. And then something will pop up, and it'll be a stepping stone. It'll be a building block. It'll be some foundational piece in order to make that thing happen. And so I love it when that kind of stuff takes place. That's been really, really cool. I didn't really answer your question.
You said all of it, but I was very specific on which one you were the most excited about.
Lately, well, like lately, I'm really excited that we found a place to do the men's group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been really, really cool. Because we've had the men's group going here in Salt Lake City. Reach out if you want to come to the men's group in Salt Lake City. And we've been doing it for almost a year, like 8 months or something like that. And we had a place in the beginning that we were doing it on a regular basis that worked out really well. And then that shifted and changed, and we were kind of bouncing around doing it at different locations. We did it out here at our house and our place, and some of the other guys that are in the group, we've done it at their places. And I've been really struggling to find a solid, consistent place to just have it. And that happened. That happened this week, where it was like, I think I gave myself 2 weeks. That wasn't even that long ago. I think that was last week.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks because I have a bunch of free time. I have all this time now where I get the opportunity to do what I want to do. So I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks and find a place. And then like 3 or 4 days later, it came.
Bam. Yeah.
So that was really neat. And, I reached out and I posted something on Facebook and said, hey, does anybody know of a place that something like this could take place? Something like this could happen. And Aaron Stein, we'll go ahead and shout out to Aaron Stein because he's a stud. He was on way earlier episodes of the podcast, but he reached out and said, yeah, come do it at this yoga studio that he's a part of. And so it works. And we had a group there Monday and it was fucking awesome. And we're going to start doing it there. So
I'm way excited for you.
I'm excited too. But that's an easy thing where we could say, well, the universe had nothing to do with that. You guys are fucking retarded hippies because you think that, the synchronistic events of life, blah, blah, blah. You're right to a certain extent because, it came from me saying something on Facebook and then Aaron, responding. But we believe that there's much more to that, right? Timing and alignment and, how often do you post something on Facebook that people don't see, right? There's a really good opportunity or a really good chance that that post itself could have just disappeared into the land of social media and never been seen by Aaron. So then he would have never reached out and then I would have never had the opportunity. So definitely a timing thing, and the timing was right for it. And now it's working very well.
Yes.
So that's cool. That's been a cool one. Yeah. But there's lots. Ask me something else, baby.
Ask you something else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had stuff. I want to ask you more about like what you're doing with the group, where you want it to go now that you have the space. As you say, what's next? I want to hear more, but I don't know necessarily if you want to talk more about it right now.
Yeah. I don't know if I do.
Okay.
I don't know because obviously right?
I do.
You're posing a leading question.
No.
Yeah, like a leading question is when you know the answer or you have the desired answer that you want.
No, it's like groundwork.
I'm going to object.
You're going to object.
You're leading the witness. But yeah, I don't know if I necessarily want to go into too much of it just because I don't know. I think there's a part of it when you're creating something that like there's a time and a place to birth that creation out into the universe, and there's a process to it. Like it's got to have an incubator time. It's got to have a gestation period, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't pull babies out of bellies at 3 months and say good luck. Like we got to give them the full 9. Right? 10 weeks, 40, not 10 weeks.
Longer than that, 40 weeks.
40 weeks, 10 months.
There you go.
And we got to give them time so that they're ready to go. And then they come out and then they're ready for the world. So
that's why I'm not asking you other questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the creative process takes a little bit of time when you're birthing stuff and you're putting things together and you're aligning the stars and working in conjunction with the universe. And then the timing's right. And then it's okay to birth it out into the space of this ugly fucking world. I don't think the world's ugly. I think it's beautiful. But yeah, I don't know.
All
the
right.
men's group's going well.
Going well.
Men's work is going well. Super jazzed about it. Love everything about it. Shifting and changing things in my life and in our life so that I can devote more time and energy to men's work.
So tell me about your little food experiment.
Well, we can talk about the coaching.
No, let's talk about the food. You're done with that.
No, like I'm not done with that.
Okay.
Like I'm going to promo it on this episode. So when people listen to the beginning of this episode, because it's important for people to know that if they want personal one-on-one coaching with me and you're a man, then they can definitely reach out. Because that's something that I'm excited about, something I'm passionate about.
I'm excited about that for you.
Yeah, that's going to be a good thing. Is that what you wanted to ask me?
I was going to get to that.
Yeah. Well, there's other stuff in the space of men's work that I don't want to talk about yet.
Okay. Well, I don't know what's okay to talk about and what's not at the moment. Because you're
Yeah.
like, here's this, here's that. So that's why
No,
I
but
moved it to food.
hold on, I have to burp.
Speaking
up
of,
some chudi so and eggs. No, but I'm starting working with men one-on-one and coaching them personally one-on-one. So it's very, very cool. And I'm super excited about it. Way passionate about it. And it's time. Like it's totally fucking time. And that's some of the synchronistic stuff that's taken place in the last month and a half, where the timing of it seems just right and things are falling into place and stuff like that. So if there's anybody out there that wants some coaching or wants to know more about what the hell we're talking about or whatever, what that even looks like, then please, please, please reach out. You can just go to the website, energieslovepodcast.com, and click on contact and then ask me any questions that you want. I also I wanted to mention earlier when we were talking about mental health, like if you want to tell us what your mental health issue is, if you want to tell us where you struggle to keep balance within the space of your mental health, please contact us. Wouldn't that be cool if people
cool.
reach out and let us know what what their struggles were, what they faced when it came to balance in the space of mental health? And you can contact us through the website, because that would be cool too.
That would be really cool.
But we have been experimenting with food.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about, I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. When was it? August of last year, where we shifted and changed up our diet once again.
August or July?
It was August.
You sure?
July-ish, August.
Yeah.
So coming up on a year. Like we haven't had soda for almost a year, which is way, way cool. We really stopped drinking alcohol, even though that wasn't necessarily like a choice. It wasn't like that wasn't something that we were going to abstain from. It's just like the fact is I don't want to drink. The last drink I had, I was thinking about this the other day, the last drink I had was a beer in December.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some stout in Ireland. But
I had to drink some beer in Ireland.
I had a couple stouts.
I would have had a couple.
A couple points of Guinness. But yeah, we shifted up a lot of things. And I think we talked about that before too.
We did.
But,
We talked extensively
yeah,
last time.
But this past month, or the month of April, because you have no idea what month it is unless you're listening to this immediately when it comes out. The month of April, I went off the rails, like me specifically. And I'll just talk about me. And if you want to talk about what you did, that's fine too. But I just went completely haywire and ate whatever the fuck I wanted to eat. And it was really interesting because I feel like my body was running clean for a long time, or cleanish for a very long time. It was functioning better across the board in every way, shape, or form. And then after a few weeks, and I mean, it was really like probably the last week and a half, 2 weeks of really realizing all the correlating pieces of what food really does to me specifically. I'm sure it does it to a lot of people, but the way that it affects me, I mean, it's obvious in weight. It's obvious in discomfort. You feel crappy. It's obvious to me, like my joints and the inflammation of my joints and my knees and my hips and stuff like that. Like I started getting weird stuff on my skin, not rashes, but like, what would you call that?
Impetigo. Just kidding.
MRSA. Had MRSA started form on my forearms.
No.
No,
little
but
dry patches,
yeah, a little
eczema,
yeah, a little, and then mentally, like super scatterbrained, and inability to kind of just process thought like a whole bunch of chaos inside of my head and not a lot of mental clarity emotionally. Like it was harder for me to maintain my emotional kind of homeostasis, kind of, middle ground and function emotionally. And I'd get real irritable and real upset, and just like my stress levels raised pretty significantly. Slept way worse. Just everything across the board. So it was really interesting, even though all of those concepts and ideas are things that I'm aware of and things that I know about, and I understand the correlation between food and all these other kind of different factors that take place in our body. Like for whatever reason, the last few weeks, it was very, very clear that this literally was the impact of garbage and shit and carbohydrates and sugar that I was shoveling into my mouth. And it was such a clear correlation. And so it was kind of neat. It was like clarity that I necessarily hadn't had before. It was like finally, it's like when you're growing up and your parents tell you time and time again the same thing. And then 10 years later, when you're an adult and you have that connection, where you're like, oh, my parents were right. Like you knew it your whole life. But then suddenly you have an experience and you're like, ah, damn it, they were right. That's kind of what it was, where I knew all of this shit. Because, I'd been told it for so long, or researched or understood, and, had a really good understanding of it. But then finally, bam, like had the connection where it's like, okay, I see it now. I can see what it does and see how important the fuel that we put into our fucking meat sack. That might be kind of...
Meat sack.
Yeah, meat sack isn't the best.
No, I love it. Meat sack. Meat sack.
But yeah, so I'm excited because now we're running clean again. We're going to go back and start running clean and start improving everything. So then, because it just feels better. You function better. Everything about the way your body works and runs and operates is just better, smoother, more balanced, more clean.
Yeah.
You feel that though, huh?
I do. It's funny because, hold on, I don't want to spill the coffee, so I'm going to concentrate.
Good job.
Thank you. It's when you're eating well and you're feeding your body and your gut the things that you're supposed to be and doing the right things, your body has a little more of a tolerance to where when you start introducing crappy things, your body handles it a little better for a little while in moderation. So it's sneaky because you can, like you said, that eating these things would, how it affects your body. But I guess the belief came with this little experiment, however. So it like snuck up because I was doing fine. Like I was, yeah, that cake and ice cream looks really good right now and it's okay. I'm going to have it and then I'm fine. I'm not experiencing any of the side effects. And so because I was tolerating it so well, I didn't really put a cap on it. So you had a partner and eating like crap for this last month. And then it like snuck up on me. So it was okay. Then it was like, oh, bam, here it is. And so now it's going to take a while to balance out. But I was starting to have like aches in my stomach again, having the things, my joints, my knees are being mean to me. They're being way mean. The weight, I haven't put on too much weight according to the scale, which is exciting. It's just been a few pounds. So I'm happy about that because I can go back. But I think the way it sits with all the body inflammation, I feel like I look like I've put on more than just a few pounds. Because like I haven't even hit 10 pounds. I think 8 was my highest amount that I went up. So I'm like, okay, that's good for my psychological part. But I don't feel like I look like it's only been 8 pounds.
Yeah.
So I don't think I look bad. I'm not sitting there like, oh, here we go. I had some ice cream. Give me the wheelbarrow. Push me around town. It's done for now. But
Wheelbarrow of ice cream. So I think that have been on the right track for so long that, yeah, this is a little setback, but I don't feel like it's catastrophic by any means. And it's going to take us a long time. I think we're going to be back in a week at the most. Yeah, honestly. I don't even feel like it's a setback.
Yeah.
Like I really justified it in my head as an experiment.
Oh, okay. It was a setback for me. It was total binge eating comfort food, whatever.
but it was because I talked to you about this where I had that realization of like, I'm stressed out and I'm fucking chaotic in my head and I'm feeling all these different things and having a really hard time managing all of this stuff. And like, that's what I was feeling and experiencing. But in reality, life is super good. Like,
it is.
Yeah. It's not stressful. Everything is going incredibly well. So it's like, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling like this? And, I can intellectually and mentally look at things and be like, man, things are really, really good right now. And I feel very, very stressed and very chaotic. And it's like, why? There's no reason for that. There's not an explanation. There's no cause and effect. Well, I really, really believe the cause was fucking garbage food. That's how much your gut biome, your gut brain, like that's how much it affects every other aspect of your body. So
Cool.
Yeah, take it from us that all the, my chair is so loud.
It is loud.
All the data and all the information that is out there is true. You don't have to experiment.
We did that for you. You're welcome.
Yeah. You don't have to experiment. You can just do it. And it's okay. Eat healthy. And eat what feels good for you and makes your body feel good, right?
What happens when cake makes you feel good?
Well, cake does make you feel good. But then you have to think about the effects that it has on your body in the long term. So we eat keto, low carb for the most part. Yeah. And that feels good for us. But that's not for everybody.
No. But it's good.
I loved Stevie the other day. What did she talk about? She was talking about vegetables. And it was just like last night or the night before, where she was talking about how like you can get all the protein that you want from vegetables or that you need from vegetables.
Yes. Like
that's the all of our kids will do that, where they'll talk about something like that, and I've stopped correcting them. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's pointless. Because they're all dumb as a box of rocks.
Teenagers.
Yeah, so they have to learn it themselves.
They have all the answers.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people out there that will disagree with my take on it, and I think that you can't get all the protein that you need from vegetables.
Our body wasn't designed for that.
No.
I think you can get a lot of protein from vegetables, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the vegetables are they're crucial to have in your body, those nutrients that they have. I don't think you can not eat vegetables. Obviously, you need that, but I think there's, meat. We're designed, I don't know how to say that and not make it sound bad.
We're designed for meat.
We're designed
to take meat in.
I was going to say eat meat, so.
We are designed to eat meat. Some more than others.
Yeah. I'm just going to sit over here now. I'm going to drink my coffee, which also has vital ingredients
amino acids
that I need.
Yes. We cut back on we didn't cut back on our coffee intake. We switched we were grinding espresso beans and brewing full pots, not
14 pot, not 12.
14 cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 14 cup. 14 pots.
14 pots.
We drink like 3 pots a day of our espresso.
Yeah. We're that's the other thing too. That's the other thing. I think that's so massively important, right? Like, because we talk about stuff on the podcast and we talk about things that we're doing in life and the way that we're moving through life and the way that we're trying to better ourselves and better our life and all these kind of different things. And
where are you swirling to?
Well, like the whole thing is like, yeah, we drink too much coffee.
No, we don't.
We drink 3 pots of coffee a day.
We moved to dark roast. We're no longer drinking 3 pots of espresso.
So in theory, we're getting 1 gram of caffeine less. But we still smoke. We still do all of these things. And so even though some areas we do really, really good and we're improving immensely, there's other areas that we're not. And that's the beauty of life, right? That's the beauty of practice.
I'm going to quit smoking, but I'm not quitting my coffee. So
I don't think there's a reason to quit coffee.
I'm not going to. And I'm not going to light roast.
Bastard roast.
Medium, whatever. No. Dark's as low as I go.
Communists drink light roast.
And I like the flavor of coffee. Real coffee. I don't want cream, don't want sugar, don't want any of that. I used to.
I know, you kicked that habit.
Yeah. I used to.
Now you enjoy the effervescent flavor and taste and the subtleties of coffee itself.
And coconut oil.
Well, babe, anything else?
Yes, but I got sidetracked because you went off on a kid vegetable kick. There was something I was going to bring up. I don't know where it went in my brain. Well, this isn't it, but this is cool, so I'll share it because you were talking about how Stevie mentioned with the vegetables. And I don't remember what she said exactly, but like she's, you know how kids are defiant of their parents and how you mentioned that.
I'm not familiar with that behavior at all.
Well, anything that your parents say is going to help you, kids don't believe, they know it, they have that. So you just had the thing with your food. And our, what does she call it? Our crazy hippie or stupid hippie stuff that you referenced earlier too.
It's just energy, me.
She'll tease you with that. Excuse me. But she was feeling crappy the other day before the full moon and she wasn't sleeping well. And she comes to you and she's like, are the planets doing some weird aligny thing or something? Because what is Can you make them stop? Tell them to stop doing that. But that
was cool.
That made me so happy because that little bit of like, I see her practicing and seeing things, even though like, hell no, because stupid hippies don't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool.
I'm just like, sit there with a little smile, like, don't look at her. Don't look at her. Don't make eye contact. She'll
don't point out. Don't celebrate. Don't take a picture.
Maybe you shouldn't like post this. She won't listen, right? This isn't.
She doesn't listen to the
this
podcast.
Isn't going to be one.
None of our kids listen to the podcast.
You know what you could do? You could say that, like in the header, like when you describe it, that we talk about how to have a healthy sex life in your marriage, and they will like burn their phones. They'll never listen to it, and it'll be okay. She'll never know.
Yeah. I was thinking about when we jumped out of the plane, like obviously I thought about us dying. And like it would suck if, we died jumping out of an airplane.
It would suck.
Not so much for us, because we'd be dead.
Yeah, we'd only experience it for a little bit.
But then it would suck for our kids and our family, right?
Yeah, so it made me sad. Don't.
Yeah, but one of the cool things I was thinking about was they would be able to go listen to the podcast. Isn't that cool? Like they would be able to have the podcast out there and they would have, all of these episodes and the episodes that we've done together. And like that's something that they would be able to hold on to for a long time. So I think that's cool. You're not supposed to get all sad about it.
In order of age, not importance, Gwen, Stevie, Maddie, Asher, I love you. You guys are wonderful. Is it okay that I put their names out there? You can delete it if it's not. I love you. I'm emotional now. Now I think we're done.
You're cute.
Oh.
Should we do an episode one day about sex?
Yeah, but not today.
Yeah.
Let's like, you can't follow up. I love you kids. We're going to die so you can listen to our voices on this. Should we do an episode about sex? That's your parents, and we love you.
Yes, we do love them.
I'm going to give them hugs.
Okay. Well, let's wrap up. Thank you very much, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Coconut coffee with Craig and Steph. With Steph and Craig. Steph and Craig. Steph and Craig sounds like a tennis player. Like he's ranked number one. And he just won.
Craig.
He just won Nationals or Wimbledon. Stephen Craig.
And Angel snoring. Oh.
She's sleeping peacefully.
I can't hear her snoring. It's apnea.
She's dead.
Oh, that's not funny.
It's okay. So go like 88 Massage, because Stephanie's got her own massage place now. So even if you live in Australia and you listen to this podcast, go like her Facebook page, 88 Massage. And when you come to Utah, when you travel to Utah, you can come get a massage. So good job, babe. And then like the goal is always new episodes every week. And hopefully we're going to do that. Hopefully 2018, the rest of 2018, that's what happens. But in the reality is if we don't release episodes, if episodes aren't coming, it's just because we're busy. But the podcast isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, they'll come.
Yeah. So just be patient. There's people out there that I'm going to interview and talk to, and there's good stuff coming with the podcast. So as always, go like it and share it and enjoy it. And we want to hear from you. Mm-hmm. So contact us through the website, message us on the Facebook page, whatever it is, call us up. You can find our phone number probably by Googling it. But I want to know what I like the thing that we said earlier, like it's not mental illness.
Mental balance.
Yeah. Where do you struggle, or where have you struggled in your life with mental balance?
What are you experiencing?
Yeah. What are you experiencing?
Or have you experienced?
in the space of mental balance and well-being? because that's something that's coming. We're going to talk about that a lot more on the podcast. So I love you.
I love you. And what's the ivory belt? Help me out.
Yes, if you have any clue what the hell the ivory belt is.
My mental balance is shifting.
Everybody have a beautiful, wonderful day.
Some people are afraid of the dentist.
Yes. And those people clearly have a mental illness that they need help with. Everybody we know at times has experienced shifts and changes in their mental balance. All of it was just like, fuck, what's this going to feel like? And then you get out of the plane and you're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. So,
honestly, saying anxiety, that was a word that was hard for me to say for a long time. Like, I don't have anxiety. I'm just surrounded by assholes.